Typey, typey.
Hi, Bill.
Nicole, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me, Bill?
Hi, Nicole. This is Helena.
Hi, Helena.
Yay, you can hear me.
Yeah.
Hi,
And
Nicole.
clear. Hi, Bill. Is that better? Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I didn't have the speaker on.
See, that always helps.
Yeah, I turned it off because notifications on emails and stuff like that. And I've just shut down my email server.
Yep.
Hi,
Lorraine.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Callie. We can.
Good.
Lorraine,
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Lorraine. We can hear you now. And you've got your hand up too. You've discovered a button.
Oh, yeah. How do I? Lower hand.
Oh, and I can see the gallery. The gallery view. See who's on.
So I don't think Chris is coming today. He's away doing some great work in India. And Christos is not with us today. And I don't think Vlad's on today either.
Well,
So I think we're ready to go. Who would like to jump in and read first?
which chapter are we on? I just got in. Actually, I've been gone all day. Just got in, getting myself situated here.
Okay, so we're still in Chapter 7. We're on page 151, starting at the capital value of your services.
Oh, great.
Would someone else like to start?
Yeah, I can start. This is Maggie.
Thanks, Maggie.
The capital value of your services, the person whose income is derived entirely from the sale of personal services, is no less a merchant than the man who sells commodities. And it might well be added, such a person is subjected to exactly the same rules of conduct as the merchant who sells merchandise. This has been emphasized because the majority of people who live by the sale of personal services make the mistake of considering themselves free from the rules of conduct and the responsibilities attached to those who are engaged in marketing commodities. The new way of marketing service has practically forced both employer and employee into partnership alliances, through which both take the consideration the rights of the third party, the public they serve. The day of the go-getter has passed. He has been supplanted by the go-giver. High-pressure methods in business finally blew the lid off. There will never be the need to put the lid back on, because in the future, business will be conducted by methods that will require no pressure. The actual capital value of your brains may be determined by the amount of income you can produce by marketing your services. A fair estimate of the capital value of your services may be made by multiplying your annual income by 16 2/3, as it is reasonable to estimate that your annual income represents 6% of your capital value. Money rents for 6% per annum. Money is worth no more than brains. It is often worth much less. Competent brains, if effectively marketed, represent a much more desirable form of capital than that which is required to conduct a business dealing in the commodities, because brains are a form of capital which cannot be permanently appreciated through depressions, nor can this form of capital be stolen or spent. Moreover, the money which is essential for the conduct of business is as worthless as a sand dune until it has been mixed with efficient brains. Somebody else want to take over?
I'll do it. The 30 major causes of failure. How many of these are holding you back? Life's greatest tragedy consists of men and women who earnestly try and fail. The tragedy lies in the overwhelming large majority of people who fail as compared to the few who succeed. I have had the privilege of analyzing several thousand men and women, 98% of whom were classed as failures. There is something radically wrong with a civilization and a system of education which permit 98% of the people to go through life as failures. But I did not write this book for the purpose of moralizing on the rights and wrongs of the world. That would require a book 100 times the size of this one. My analysis work proved that there are 30 major reasons for failure and 13 major principles through which people accumulate fortunes. In this chapter, a description of the 30 major causes of failure will be given. As you go over the list, check yourself by it point by point for the purpose of discovering how many of these causes of failure stand between you and success. 1. Unfavorable hereditary background. There is but little, if anything, which can be done for people who are born with a deficiency in brain power. This philosophy offers but one method of bridging this weakness through the aid of the mastermind. Observe with profit, however, that this is the only one of the 30 causes of failure which may not be easily corrected by any individual. 2. Lack of a well-defined purpose in life. There is no hope of success for the person who does not have a central purpose or definite goal at which to aim. 98 out of every 100 of these whom I have analyzed have had no such aim. Perhaps this was the major cause of their failure. 3. Lack of ambition to aim above mediocrity. We offer no hope for the person who is so indifferent as not to want to get ahead in life and who is not willing to pay the price. Insufficient education. This is a handicap which may be overcome with comparative ease. Experience has proven that the best educated people are often those who are known as self-made or self-educated. It takes more than a college degree to make one a person of education. Any person who is educated is one who has learned to get whatever he wants in life without violating the rights of others. Education consists not so much of knowledge, but of knowledge effectively and persistently applied. Men are paid not merely for what they know, but more importantly, for what they do with that which they know. 5. Lack of self-discipline. Discipline comes through self-control. This means that one must control all negative qualities. Before you can control conditions, you must first control yourself. Self-mastery is the hardest job you will ever tackle. If you do not conquer self, you will be conquered by self. You may see at one and the same time both your best and your greatest enemy by stepping in front of a mirror. 6. Ill health. No person may enjoy outstanding success without good health. Many of the causes of ill health are subject to mastery and control. These in the main are A. Overeating of foods not conducive to health. B. Wrong habits of thought giving expression to negatives. C. Wrong use of and overindulgence in sex. D. Lack of proper physical exercise. E. An inadequate supply of fresh air due to improper breathing. Somebody else want to pick up?
I'll do it. Number 7, unfavorable environmental influences during childhood. As the twig is bent, so shall the tree grow. Most people who have criminal tendencies acquire them as a result of bad environment and improper associates during childhood. 8, procrastination. This is one of the most common causes of failure. Old man procrastination. stands within the shadow of every human being, waiting his opportunity to spoil one's chances of success. Most of us go through life as failures because we are waiting for the time to be right to start doing something worthwhile. Do not wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand and work with whatever tools you may have at your command, and better tools will be found as you go along. 9. Lack of persistence. Most of us are good starters, but poor finishers of everything we begin. Moreover, people are prone to give up at the first sign of defeat. There is no substitute for persistence. The person who makes persistence his watchword discovers that old man failure finally becomes tired and makes his departure. Failure cannot cope with persistence. 10. Negative personality. There is no hope of success for the person who repels people through a negative personality. Success comes through the application of power, and power is attained through cooperative efforts of other people. A negative personality will not induce cooperation. 11. Lack of controlled sexual urge. Sex energy is the most powerful of all the stimuli which move people into action because it is the most powerful of the emotions. It must be controlled through transmutation and converted into other channels. 12. Uncontrolled desire for something for nothing. The gambling instinct drives millions of people to failure. Evidence of this may be found in the study of the Wall Street crash of 1929, during which millions of people tried to make money by gambling on stock margins. 13. Lack of well-defined power of decision. Men who succeed reach decisions promptly and change them, if at all, very slowly. Men who fail reach decisions, if at all, very slowly, and change them frequently and quickly. Indecision and procrastination are twin brothers. Where one is found, the other may usually be found also. Kill off this pair before they completely hogtie you to the treadmill of failure. 14. One or more of the 6 basic fears. These fears have been analyzed for you in a later chapter. They must be mastered before you can market your services effectively. 15. Wrong selection of a mate in marriage. This is most common because of failure. The relationship of marriage brings people intimately into contact. Unless this relationship is harmonious, failure is likely to follow. Moreover, it will be a form of failure that is marked by misery and unhappiness, destroying all signs of ambition. 16. Overcaution. The person who takes no chances generally has to take whatever is left when others are through choosing. Overcaution is as bad as undercaution. Both are extremes to be guarded against. Life itself is filled with elements of chance. 17. Wrong selection of associates in business. This is one of the most common causes of failure in business. In marketing personal services, one should use great care to select an employer who will be an inspiration and who is himself intelligent and successful. We emulate those with who we associate most closely. Pick an employer who is worth emulating. Would somebody else like to pick up on number 18?
I'll read. There's a bit of feedback. I hope it's not me.
Okay.
Okay. 18. Superstition and prejudice. Superstition is a form of fear. It is also a sign of ignorance. Men who succeed keep open minds and are afraid of nothing. 19. Wrong selection of a vocation. No man can succeed in a line of endeavor which he does not like. The most essential step in the marketing of personal services is that of selecting an occupation into which you can throw yourself wholeheartedly. 20. Lack of concentration of effort. The jack of all trades seldom is good at any. Concentrate all of your efforts on one definite chief aim. 21. The habit of indiscriminate spending. The spendthrift cannot succeed, mainly because he stands eternally in fear of poverty. From the habit of systematic saving by putting aside a definite percentage of your income, money in the bank gives one a very safe foundation of courage. When bargaining for the sale of personal services, without money, one must take what one is offered and be glad to get it. 22. Lack of enthusiasm. Without enthusiasm, one cannot be convincing. Moreover, enthusiasm is contagious, and the person who has it under control is generally welcome in any group of people. 23. Intolerance. The person with a closed mind on any subject seldom gets ahead. Intolerance means that one has stopped acquiring knowledge. The most damaging forms of intolerance are those connected with religious, racial, and political differences of opinion. 24. Intemperance. The most damaging forms of intemperance are connected with eating, strong drink, and sexual activities. Overindulgence in any of these is fatal to success. 25. Inability to cooperate with others. More people lose their positions and their big opportunities in life because of this fault than for all other reasons combined. It is a fault which no well-informed businessman or leader will tolerate. 26. Possession of power that was not acquired through self-effort. Sons and daughters of wealthy men and others who inherit money which they did not earn. Power in the hands of one who did not acquire it gradually is often fatal to success. Quick riches are more dangerous than poverty. 27. Intentional dishonesty. There is no substitute for honesty. One may be temporarily dishonest by force of circumstances over which one has no control, without permanent damage, but there is no hope for the person who is dishonest by choice. Sooner or later, his deeds will catch up with him and he will pay by loss of reputation and perhaps even loss of liberty. 28. Egotism and vanity. These qualities serve as red lights which warn others to keep away. They are fatal to success. 29. Guessing instead of thinking. Most people are too indifferent or lazy to acquire facts with which to think accurately. They prefer to act on opinions created by guesswork or snap judgments. 30. Lack of capital. This is a common cause of failure among those who start out in business for the first time, without sufficient reserve of capital to absorb the shock of their mistakes and to carry them over until they have established a reputation. 31. Under this, name any particular cause of failure from which you have suffered that has not been included in the foregoing list. Does anybody else want to carry on, or shall I keep going? Oh, where's everyone?
We're here. We're just all on mute.
Oh, I suddenly thought, okay, I'll keep going.
Unless Cheryl would like to carry on. Cheryl, would you like?
I can carry on if we've got our ways to go yet.
Thank you. Thanks, Lorraine.
Okay, in these 30 major causes of failure is found a description of the tragedy of life, which obtains for practically every person who tries and fails. It will be helpful if you can induce someone who knows you well to go over this list with you and help to analyze you by the 30 causes of failure. It may be beneficial if you try this alone. Most people cannot see themselves as others see them. You may be one who cannot. The oldest of admonitions is, man, know thyself. If you market merchandise successfully, you must know the merchandise. The same is true in marketing personal services. You should know all of your weaknesses in order that you may either bridge them or eliminate them entirely. You should know your strengths in order that you may call attention to it when selling your services. You can know yourself only through accurate analysis. The folly of ignorance in connection with self was displayed by a young man who applied to the manager of a well-known business for a position. He made a very good impression until the manager asked him what salary he expected. He replied that he had no fixed sum in mind, lack of a definite aim. The manager then said, "We will pay you all you are worth after we try you out for a week." "I will not accept it," the applicant replied, "because I am getting more than that where I am now employed. Before you even start to negotiate for a readjustment of your salary in your present position or to seek employment elsewhere, be sure that you are worth more than you now receive. It is one thing to want money. Everyone wants more, but it is something entirely different to be worth more. Many people mistake their wants for their just dues. Your financial requirements or wants have nothing whatever to do with your worth. Your value is established entirely by your ability to render useful service or your capacity to induce others to render such service. Are we going further? Yeah. Okay, I'll keep going.
Sorry, Cheryl. I keep forgetting I'm on mute.
I know, it takes a while to unmute
We're
yourself.
going all the way through to 161.
Okay. So take inventory of yourself. 28 questions you should answer. Annual self-analysis is an essential in the effective marketing of personal services, as is annual inventory and merchandising. Moreover, the yearly analysis should disclose a decrease in faults and an increase in virtues. One goes ahead, stands still, or goes backwards in life. One's object should be, of course, to go ahead. Annual self-analysis will disclose whether advancement has been made, and if so, how much. It will also disclose any backward steps one may have made. The effective marketing of personal services requires one to move forward, even if the progress is slow. Your annual self-analysis should be made at the end of each year, so you can include in your New Year's resolutions any improvements which the analysis indicates should be made. Take this inventory by asking yourself the following questions and by checking your answers with the aid of someone who will not permit you to deceive yourself as to their accuracy. Self-analysis questionnaire for personal inventory. 1. Have I attained the goal which I established as my objective for the year? You should work with a definite yearly objective to be attained as a part of your major life objective. 2. I have delivered service of the best possible quality of which I was capable, or could I have improved any part of this service? 3. Have I delivered service in the greatest possible quantity of which I was capable? 4. Has the spirit of my conduct been harmonious and cooperative at all times? 5. Have I permitted the habit of procrastination to decrease my efficiency, and if so, to what extent? 6. Have I improved my personality, and if so, in what ways? 7. Have I been persistent in following my plans through to completion? 8. Have I reached decisions promptly and definitely on all occasions? 9. Have I permitted any one or more of the 6 basic fears to decrease my efficiency? 10. Have I been either overcautious or undercautious? 11. Has my relationship with my associates in work been pleasant or unpleasant? If it has been unpleasant, has the fault been partly or wholly mine? 12. Have I dissipated any of my energy through the lack of concentration of effort? 13. Have I been open-minded and tolerant in connection with all subjects? 14. In what way have I improved my ability to render service? 15. Have I been intemperate in any of my habits? 16. Have I expressed either openly or secretly any form of egotism? 17. Has my conduct toward my associates been such that it has induced them to respect me? 18. Have my opinions and decisions been based upon guesswork or accuracy of analysis and thought? 19. Have I followed the habit of budgeting my time, my expenses, and my income, and have I been conservative in these budgets? 20. How much time have I devoted to unprofitable effort which I might have used to better advantage? 21. How may I rebudget my time and change my habits so I will be more efficient during the coming year? 22. Have I been guilty of any conduct which was not approved by my conscience? 23. In what ways have I rendered more service and better service than I was paid to render? 24. Have I been unfair to anyone, and if so, in what way? 25. If I had been the purchaser of my own services for the year, would I be satisfied with my purchase? 26. Am I in the right location, and if not, why not? 27. Has the purchaser of my services been satisfied with the service I've rendered, and if not, why not? What is my present rating on 28? What is my present rating on the fundamental principles of success? Make this rating fairly and frankly, and have it checked by someone who is courageous enough to do it accurately. Having read and assimilated the information conveyed through this chapter, you are now ready to create a practical plan for marketing your personal services. Go to the end of the chapter, or the paragraph, Nicole?
Yes, please.
In this chapter,
All the way to the next subheading.
okay. In this chapter will be found an adequate description of every principle essential in planning the sale of personal services, including the major attributes of leadership. The most common causes of failure in leadership, a description of the fields of opportunity for leadership, the main causes of failure in all walks of life, and the important questions which should be used in self-analysis. This extensive and detailed presentation of accurate information has been included because it will be needed by all who must begin the accumulation of riches by marketing personal services. Those who have lost their fortunes and those who are just beginning to earn money have nothing but personal services to offer in return for riches. Therefore, it is essential that they have available the practical information needed to market services to the best advantage. The information contained in this chapter will be of great value to all who aspire to attain leadership in any calling. It will be particularly helpful to those aiming to market their services as business or industrial executives. Complete assimilation and understanding of the information here conveyed will be helpful in marketing one's own services, and it will also help one to become more analytical and capable of judging people. The information will be priceless to personnel directors, employment managers, and other executives charged with the selection of employees and the maintenance of efficient organizations. If you doubt this statement, test its soundness by answering in writing the 28 self-analysis questions. That might be both interesting and profitable, even though you do not doubt the soundness of the statement.
Thanks, Cheryl. Let's all unmute ourselves and head back to the start and discuss this section.
It's pretty interesting. Lots to think about.
There is a lot in this chapter. I've just had an interesting message from Zoom asking me to upgrade, otherwise we'll finish in 10 minutes. So if that happens, we'll just sign back in.
Oh, so the calls can only be 40 minutes long?
Seems that way, yep. So I'll try to get this through within 10 minutes, otherwise we'll just sign back in. I like the way he talks about the capital value of our brains being more than money. Because, you know, you can learn as much as you want, but if you don't know how to market yourself and get yourself out there and be a little bit creative, the knowledge that you have is not going to be much use to you, really.
Well,
That's really true.
That's a good point, and that's kind of almost the same as having not the right kind of knowledge, right, as well. Like, he talks a lot about college education not being enough. You need to have other kind of knowledge, not just a college education, to be successful in becoming rich. So it kind of leads into that one.
Yeah, specific.
And I liked what he said about you're always either moving forward or backward. one of the things I've noticed over the years, and I've been around a long time, is that, you know, a lot of people will learn something and never progress in their learning. You know, I always laugh at like the trucks, you know, for the advertisements for plumbers, and they said, "Oh, 15 years of experience," and is that 1 year of experience repeated 14 times?
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. If you don't keep up with the times and keep learning and going forward, that means nothing, does it?
That's right. Unless you're in a profession like digging ditches by shovel.
Yeah. 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 And I've heard that spoken of before, where you're either, nothing stands still. You're either going forward or backwards. And I think that has something to do with, I don't know, the law of vibration maybe too, that nothing can stand still because things are always moving, including your thoughts.
Yeah, but you got to be moving in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're not moving in the right direction, you're moving in the wrong one. There's no standing still.
Exactly.
So taking this inventory of yourself, I think that is a fantastic idea. Because just to assess if you actually are moving forward from year to year.
Yeah, and looking at yourself and you know, looking at the 30 reasons for failure. Oh, I see that you've upgraded, Nicole.
Oh, good, it's showing up. Excellent. We won't be cut off. Sorry, I was a bit quiet in the background here trying to do that. So I'm glad that's worked. Excellent.
We know everything.
Okay, well, how come my screen says remaining meeting time 5 minutes and 58 seconds?
That's just because you're slow.
Oh. And I'm moving backwards.
We have to have a win somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Mine is only a half. The joke in the family is my son and his best friend share a brain. Together they make a half-wit.
That's funny.
Hey, you got to laugh with family.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But getting back, you know, I keep seeing, you know, again, I've been in the business world now for well over 40 years, well over. And, you know, I see a lot of the reasons for failure. I see a lot of lack of ambition. And I see, you know, again, the lack of, you know, wanting to learn more about what it is that you do.
I have really found that a lot. In fact, I'm really surprised at the amount of people that I come in contact with just in marketing my own services that have no ambition to improve themselves. I find it quite shocking, really. I didn't realise that there were so many people out there who were just happy to be, what's the word Napoleon Hill uses, happy with mediocrity.
Yeah, that seems pretty sad, hey, especially when we were really put here to grow and be more of ourselves, right?
Yeah, and I think that's been lost because it's not taught in the schools. Parents don't know it. I certainly didn't know it a few years ago to teach to my children when they were younger. So we're
Yeah.
not brought up just knowing that as a given. We're a bit lost, I think, and we really need to go back to finding where we're from and what we're here to do.
Yeah.
And when you look at the schools, there's the old adage, those who can do, those who can't teach, and add on to that, those who can't teach phys ed or school administrators or guidance counselors.
Yeah. Yeah. But really, I was talking to somebody a while ago about how my children have absolutely no idea about any of this, and that she said to me, they've lived a conventional life, and that really, I think, explains a lot of it. Is everything it's conventional. People just do what everybody else does, and they think that if they're doing what everybody else does, that's what they're meant to do.
Yeah, and you can see that with the different cultures around the world. There's such a vast array of different styles of living that when you grow up in a certain area, you just believe that's the way it is.
Yes.
It's the same with knowing about yourself as a higher being. You just don't know that's true.
And Bob is typical in saying that if you're moving with the rest of the crowd, you're probably moving in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Of course.
So I'm going through these, and I did, yes, so many of them ring true for me. Number 24, my question is regarding number 24 and number 11. So at number 11, there's a lack of controlled sexual urge, like it's all on its own, so that's a real big point. It must be controlled through transmutation and converted into other channels. Yet at point 24, in temperance, it's mentioned again, connected with eating, overeating, and strong drink and sexual activities, overindulgence. I get that, but I don't quite understand point 11. Like, I think it's somewhere else. He's mentioned it at the beginning of the book, about strong emotions. I vaguely, it's there, but I just don't get number 11. What does he mean? As in transmutation and converted into other channels?
Yeah. What he's talking about here is the emotion of sex and love, if you will. Okay. The emotion of love and sex can be transmuted into or changed into energy used in other endeavors. Okay, if you are, if all day long all you're doing is engaging in the activity, then you're not going to get too far.
Right.
But you've heard the expression behind every successful man is a good woman, or something to that effect. Okay. The emotion of love and, I'll say sex, for where it's converted, if you will, or expanded into doing something for your the love of your life. Okay, that's how you succeed.
You can see that a lot in sport, especially at high school. I guess it starts when boys and girls start getting interested in each other, and all of a sudden the boys are the best on the football team. They're using that sexual energy to impress and to be good at something which they enjoy, to get the attention of the opposite sex. And in business, men, particularly more so than women, use money to be the the person that they want to be, to prove themselves, I guess. And so if they can focus their sexual energies in building that side of things, that is a more productive way than just going out and using their sexual energies in the physical sense.
Ah,
That's a good
so
point.
this is about the energy. This is about, yeah. So I get it. I get it.
And
Right.
I think where he mentioned it for further back in the book was that coupled love and sexual energy coupled can are the strongest or the closest energies to faith is what I'm pretty sure that's what he was
Yeah, I think that's what I recall. Yeah.
in the beginning of the book.
Yeah, and he uses a lot of examples. Henry Ford and Thomas Edison, who had their wives there behind them every step of the way. And Henry Ford, he talks about his wife being in the kitchen dropping with an eyedropper drops of fuel into a carburetor to, get the carburetor working. So they both had their wives there. And I think Thomas Edison's wife would be waiting at home at midnight with a glass of milk and toast for him to come home and relay the whole day's activities so they could brainstorm together for the next day. So they both had those energies there and love as well as their backbone. And a lot of the times the reasons why they moved forward was their wife. For example, Henry Ford wanted to get a loan for $30 to get a part that he needed for the car. The person at the parts department wouldn't let him have it because of this ridiculous automobile that he was trying to invent. There was no way in the world. He came home and told his wife, and his wife said, well, don't we have savings for our house? He said, yeah, but we're not going to use that for anything else but our house. And she said, well, we could pay it back next week. We're good for it, aren't we? And he said, that's right. So it was the feminine part of him, that his partner, his wife, who helped him to make some of the decisions to be successful.
Yeah, and there's that, and like you said before, there's the desire on the part of one member of the marriage to, I'll say, impress the other side.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, think about this. I mean, it's people keep saying, "Oh, I could never be a good salesperson." Well, those of us who have ever gotten married, we did the best sales job ever. You think about it, guys. Okay, we got to take out the girl. So we're going to take our once a month shower. Just okay. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but think about it. We make sure our attire is appropriate for the occasion. We make sure we have enough money to not only take the young lady to the movies, but to get something afterwards and the whole thing. Now, you ladies spent 3 days at the hairdresser, 17 days trying to pick out what you're going to wear, what perfume you're going to wear, right? I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Now, and yes, I am over-exaggerating, but think about what you did. Okay?
Yeah, I totally get that now. If we took that same energy and put it into other channels, I totally get it. Yeah.
We would do amazing things.
Yeah.
Good example.
Yeah.
I mean, man is definitely the weaker sex. I'll admit that.
Oh, you did not.
Oh, thank you for that. That I totally get. Yeah.
But it's true, and that's the whole thing. Think about what you've done in your life, why you did things that you did. Look back at it, and you'll laugh, but then you'll say, "But yeah, it fits into this what he was saying."
Yeah, for sure.
It probably helps with your breathing too. Does anyone here know about proper breathing? because when I read this, I thought I should really look this up, because I know we don't
Yeah.
breathe very well for the number 6. Does anyone know? Should we be breathing deeper? Should we be breathing into our stomach? Does anyone have any education in that area?
Breathing fully. You want to breathe fully, you know, instead of just shallow through in the chest. You know, you want to breathe fully, deeply.
Well,
I have no idea.
I've heard, Tony Robbins teaching this. It's almost like a count, inhaling should be, like slow and steady. Okay. So think of counting to 5 during an inhale.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Don't try to count out loud while you're doing it. But think of counting to a 5 during an inhale and slow, steady inhale. Okay. Hold that deep breath for a count of, let's say, if you can't to a count of, let's do a 10 inhale, 5 hold, and almost a 20 exhale. Something like that. I'll try to get the exact numbers on that. But basically, you want to inhale slow, steady, and fill up your lungs. Hold it as long as you can, and a very slow exhale.
Yeah.
Okay. What that will do is help increase the capacity of your lungs for oxygen.
And the idea is to breathe through your, breathe like if you're breathing throughout your body, this the energy going all the way down to your feet even, and
Yeah.
you feel like, it's almost like taking and imagine, you've got energy cords like the roots of a tree going down from your feet down into the earth. You can imagine, just going down into the earth and pulling up some of the energy from the earth even, when you're going back up. That's another idea. There's different, you gotta find what works for you in your rhythm to, you breathe, when you take in a nice, slow, deep breath, whatever the count is, to be sure and let your exhale be a little slower than what you inhaled.
Yeah, I just started doing some yoga stuff, and they said a count of 4 in and a count of 4 out.
Okay.
I do longer, but yeah, that's the typical for a lot, I guess.
Yeah, I think most of us would, in our everyday, going about everyday things, we probably do like a 2 and a 2, and we don't inhale all the way. We only half fill up our lungs.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's something else I read a while ago, and I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but the God particle is in the air. So breathe it in.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
The stuff, the substance.
That's the part that, is going to calm your nervous system down and everything.
Yeah.
Something else I see a lot is people waiting for the right time. And I think I've done that in the past as well. I need to wait till I know it all. I need to wait till it's perfect. I can't film this promotional video until I've got it down pat. There can't be any mistakes, but time will never be perfect. And I like the way he talks about the tools there, because I've had that experience a few times throughout this 2015 where I felt like I wasn't ready to go and do something. But when I did, when I used the tools that I had, other tools came up. And when I look back on it now, if I hadn't have used the tools that I had, and even though I felt I wasn't ready to do what I was doing, the new tools that I've found popping up wouldn't have popped up, and I wouldn't have them now. So you need to use the tools you have now, because everything that we've been in contact with since birth is stored in our subconscious mind, ready for us to use. We have no idea what's there. And not to mention that knowledge is present everywhere.
Right.
But if we don't use what we have already, we won't get the other tools that are sitting dormant within us.
Right. If we don't use our conscious tools, our subconscious tools won't show up.
Exactly.
What a revelation, because I don't know how many places I've read where it says, don't wait, start with what you have now. And I'm going, well, what if you don't know enough? How can you start now? I've been one of the worst offenders of that. But that makes it total sense.
Yeah, and once you do it once and you feel it happen and you see it happen, like something will, for me, like it's in coaching mainly this past year, where I've felt like, but I don't know enough to coach a person about that particular topic. But when you're in the zone, it comes up because it's like being in the mastermind, I guess, how it's set up to work, where like we are now, ideas will come up that we go, oh, where did that come from? But that's exactly how it works.
And coaching people, I'm not going to say it's simple, because it's not. But it's not like trying to fine tune, let's say, a golfer's swing or something like that. Okay, it's more in terms of getting that person into the right attitude. And this is, I've had trouble, as a manager, trying to get that concept over to people. Okay, it's so difficult. We're I'll say one of like the 1 to 5% of the people, if you will, okay, who want to improve ourselves and can, to some degree, help others if they want the help. And that's the big thing. If they want the help, then you're willing to help. The help will get across.
Exactly, because everyone has everything they need within them. They just need someone to help them to bring it out. And also, if they're not willing, they don't want to change, then no one can help them.
Right. Let's face it. The only person you can help is yourself.
Yeah.
You can't change anyone else. You can only change yourself.
Changing yourself is not an easy job either.
It's probably the hardest job out of all of them.
Exactly.
We have so many limiting beliefs from our childhood and early adulthood, and we really need to sometimes dig deep to try and find them. Sometimes they're not that obvious to us, but once we find them, then we can sort them out.
When I was doing the pre-studying, we'll call it, I only did the questions. I stopped at 31. I think it's probably because of 30. Lack of capital did kind of, I don't know. I think I panicked because that's my situation, but I'm going anyway. Things are happening anyway, as you might have seen in my post. It's, I think I'm probably looking at that too literally, as in lack of capital will be a cause of failure. Whereas for my circumstances, and going with the what I've been studying and what you've been saying, don't focus on the how, because otherwise lack of capital would hold me back. It would stop me. I wouldn't move. I would be thinking I have to wait, and then I would be focusing on how am I going to do this? How will I get the money? So that did throw me a little bit that it was in there, because...
And the principle of the mastermind can help with that particular element as well. When you have someone else who is just as interested in accomplishing what you want to accomplish within the mastermind, that you should try and get together to accomplish anything, really. They might be the one to put up the capital and still get out of the project just as much as you are.
Yeah. That's what we spoke about before. I remember that was the week before last week. We were talking about that. Okay. So that's, okay. So if that was a very big project, then.
Yeah. And, the other members of the mastermind could potentially come up with ways of accumulating some money.
Yeah.
Okay. Bob is always talking about MSIs. Okay.
Mm.
And I know, he brought up the affiliate programs, for his stuff, which is a good idea. But, a couple of things that, take a look at in there. Number one is you want a residual income, not necessarily something that's going to just hit once. Okay. So like if you take Bob's programs in the affiliate program, you've got 6 minutes to success, which I forget how much it is per month, but you get half of it every month. The same thing with the streaming club. You get half of, what is it, $88 every month for the streaming club. Whereas Magic in the Mind, of the Mind, that's a one payment thing. I think it's like maybe $200, so you wind up getting $100, which isn't bad, don't get me wrong, but you have to work at that over and over again, as opposed to getting one person to sign up for, say, the streaming club.
Yeah,
Okay.
so having multiple streams of income, try and look at the residual income opportunities. That frees up your time
Yeah.
to work on your project.
Yeah. I think I was overthinking it, to be fair. in all fairness, because I've already accepted. I think we spoke about this when I first joined a few weeks ago. We were talking about failures, and for me, because I knew that I was starting a business, and there is going to be failure. There's a risk, isn't there? There's always a risk. But what am I going to? I could spend ages wondering how I'm going to get around it, or if I'm ready, or I can just go with what I know to be true and just keep working towards it. And as I've said recently, God, it's like every step I take, my path is being illuminated all of a sudden. I mean, I don't want to. I'm almost scared to jinx it, but it's a great feeling. Then I saw lack of capital. I don't know if that's another sign, like, oh, Lorraine, be careful. Indiscriminate spending words are coming out at me that I'm perhaps overthinking now because of my personal circumstances.
Look, and think of one other thing here. Have you ever watched a baby try to walk? Okay.
Yeah.
They get up, they fall. I mean, I've never seen a baby get up and walk the first time.
And we don't stop them when they fall, do we?
No.
Never try again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, you go to school, and then they tell you, don't think, just regurgitate what we're giving you. And it's a recipe for failure.
Yeah.
And I think, too, you want to maybe take into consideration the law of gender, where it says every seed has a gestation or incubation period. So your idea is a seed that will move into form, but no one knows when the time is when it's gonna happen. You just have to know it'll happen.
Yeah.
Having faith will definitely speed it up, though.
And for sure, where I can see all of that, all of these. Absolutely. I didn't. Yeah. It's great. Some of the points are I'm just guessing instead of thinking. I'm quite impulsive. So that's things to be mindful of. And yeah, this was a great read for me. A lot of very thought-provoking stuff. Like, we could literally do a point and just study it like for an hour. Like, you could literally one apart for ages. It's really good. Really deep.
And that's why I really like this inventory that he has here, because if you did that every year, I think that you would continue to move forward very nicely. Not very many people would sit down and do a detailed self-inventory each year. Even number one, have I attained the goal which I established as my objective for this year? That's quite confronting if you hadn't.
And how many people don't have a goal for the year?
Exactly.
A lot of people.
Most people.
Yep.
I mean, I tell people, in any organization, I go by the 5 75-20 rule. Okay, which is, to me, this is for me. Okay, I look around and I see 5% of the people in any organization can do whatever is thrown at them. They might need a little bit of help. They might have to look at manuals or whatever, ask some people, but they'll get the job done. 20% of the people are dead wood. Okay? And then you have the 75% in the middle who simply exist day to day. They can do, for the most part, what they've been shown to do, and once they've done it, they can repeat it. Okay, but they'll never be the 5% superstar.
Yeah. And some of that would come down to drive, do you think?
Most of it does.
For sure. For sure.
Everyone has the capability of getting up into the 5%. Okay, at which point it'll be 100%, but who's counting? But the thing is, how many people, and like I said, look around you. You see it. Okay, how many people just, come, if you're working in an office, they get to work. The first thing they do is get some coffee. They chat for a little bit, then go get more coffee. And by the end of the day, they haven't accomplished anything, but except they've had about 10 cups of coffee.
Actually, in a book of Poor Dad, Rich Dad, there's actually figures like how many % of the world are followers and how many are leaders. I can't remember where they were, but it was a big difference. But I also think, a lot of people that are working in big companies or government, they're actually going for money. They're not doing what they love to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to make you miserable.
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that that's going to make you miserable at some point.
And they're the people that are tiptoeing through life, hoping to die without any big complications, right?
Yeah.
I really like number 6. Have I improved my personality? Because he didn't just leave it as a yes, I have, or no. If so, in what ways? That's something that I'm actually going to put. I'm going to take some of these questions and ask myself at the end of April, like I just, in terms of growing. And if so, in what ways have I become kinder? Am I more considerate? Have I, am I just ways that I would like to think that I could improve? But I like that he didn't just allow for have I improved my personality, yes or no. He actually forcing you to say how, because that's quite a challenge if you to write it down, because we could easily say, oh yeah, have. But actually how is going to be like thought-provoking, because it's going to, you're going to have to think.
Yeah, revealing, right.
Revealing, that's the word, yeah. Interesting. I like that.
He actually has some work. I don't think there is a chapter in this book on it, but he has some work which I have somewhere else and can find on a pleasing personality, and has a whole set of points to work through there as well.
Oh, that would be great if you've got that. I'd love to see that.
Yep.
Isn't that at the end of this book someplace?
It's in the book. I'm pretty sure I've read it.
Okay, let's have a look.
Okay, 6 goes to fear. No. Okay, I didn't notice. I scanned the book real quick. I didn't see it, but it might. It's probably in here someplace.
Yeah, it may be within one of the other chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 6 basic fears is coming up in another chapter, is it? I think, because it's mentioned a couple of times.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave that one.
I looked at that question too, and I have been working on perception and looking at the other person's perception, even without there being a reason to need to look at the other person's perception because of a disagreement or anything, but just in general, talking about things and the way people act. And I've just been curious about what's their perception, why do they think that way, or why are they acting that way. And I've found it's quite interesting to do that, and it does improve your personality because you become more understanding of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I do that with my friends.
Oops, sorry.
I agree, puppy.
That's too funny.
Well, another...
we know somebody's getting a lot out of this. They're very encouraging.
Is picking up the vibration, that's for sure.
That was my dog, Tyler. I also find that personality, as your level of awareness is higher, well, for me anyways, I am much more calmer. And it's almost, not that I know, I'm not at that point yet to really see the other person how she or he is. But if I know the person already, like a family member, I'm now able to say, he is who she is, and she has the right to live the way she wants to live, and I don't feed in the conversation if it doesn't resonate with me. So where before I would just get, so wound up and trying to make the other person's, see my way, and of course my way is the right way.
Yeah, I can agree with you there, because I can't remember which number it is, but in the one where it asks, have you been unfair? Yeah, I'm expecting other people to think like I think. As I change and grow with this information, why don't you want to know this? Why don't you want to grow and improve yourself?
Yeah.
People don't.
Bring out the individuality.
Do you know what's really interesting? Excuse me. Is that as we become, or what I'm finding for myself is that as I am becoming more aware of this information and how I'm, it's changed my thinking. It's like when I talk to someone else now, I'm just thinking about what other people must have thought of me that were way further advanced in this information.
That's interesting.
Because I was like, I'm thinking about, my gosh, they must have, I can just almost feel it now, because I'm thinking I was just kind of like not there at all, and they're way up here. And now I can see that in myself, as like when I'm not that I'm way up here, better, but I'm just saying so much more aware. And so the words people say and the things that people say is like, so for, when it's like they're just not getting it, they don't realize that they are so much more capable than what they're talking about. And I remember saying things, jeepers, like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this, and stuff like, just lots of kind of self-defeating types of things to people. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, they must have just, I can only imagine. And I can't even imagine, like Bob says, he can read people so well. I'm just like, okay, so now you say you can read people really well. It's like, I don't know if I want to meet you until I really got my
That's great.
Bob, on the last Science of Growing Rich, he said that he does not try to convince anyone. And if someone tells him, no, or challenge him, he just back out. So for me, that was like, aha, that's what I need to do. Instead of trying to convince the other person, well, you want to do this. This is, this is what Jesus said. That's what he meant. Or this is what so-and-so said. This is what the book said.
Yeah,
and now,
get it.
Yeah. All you can do is suggest, because beyond that, you're now coming across as a used car salesman,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually noticed my friends like looking. I can see them making eye contact at each other. You know, like
What is she on about?
which is my cue to shut up, but it makes me go even more because I think I need to. Even worse, it's like, oh
Well,
God.
you know what I'm finding is that I know so many of my friends. I tell them I'm doing this book study and that kind of thing, and they just say they're kind of going, oh well, my goodness, where what planet are you coming from now or whatever. But I don't try to talk them into it. I tell them what I'm doing, but then they go back to their regular chit chat and talking about this and that, and I'm finding it so darn boring around them.
Yeah, my answer to some of that is, well, before you laugh at what I'm doing, why don't you take a look at the book yourself?
Yeah, and and it doesn't bother me. I could tell them what I'm doing, and it doesn't bother me that they may be thinking I'm from another planet. But like what is bothering me is that now I'm finding that they're just boring, and I have nothing in common with them anymore.
That's a really hard thing to deal with. I mean, even with family and really close people that you love, it's a really difficult thing, and I don't know whether there's much you can do about that.
Oh, I don't think so, hey. And it's the right thing to do to keep growing and to keep in contact with, our group like this so that you have someone to share the thoughts that are important to you now.
That's right. You can't hold yourself back and stop yourself from growing to maintain relationships with friends.
No, I tell you what they do notice. They notice behaviours more. Like if I'm saying something, before I would be like really trying to convince that doesn't work. But when a situation, something happens, whatever it is, like like Bob said, don't react. I'm just calm. I'm not quite there yet. Don't get me wrong. It probably, I can still, react. But 9 times out of 10, things that are happening are just like, it's what it is. That's what I say. And like that, at that point, like and I'm rightly or wrongly, maybe this is ego, I do feel elevated because they'll be like, oh my God, Lorraine, like, how are you not responding? Like, how are you not going crazy? Because of what, and then I'm just like, oh, actually, that's a good point. I'm not. I then see myself through their eyes at that moment. It's only a brief moment because then, we get caught up in something else, but it's circumstances. Life throws curveballs at you, throws it at all of us. And, I'm having my time, but it's what it is, okay? And I'm still experiencing great things, and things are still happening in a positive sense. So I choose to focus on that. But they can see the contrast because, of course, usually we would sit around with a glass of wine and all we would talk about is what's going wrong and why it's wrong and whose fault it is. And that would have been, it for ages and hours, and we could have done a few bottles of wine and been perfectly happy. Yeah. Now, there's nothing. I'll say this has happened, and then I just move on. So there's nothing. Now we just talk about something else, but they cannot believe it. And at that point, they're now noticing my behaviours more so than the words that I'm saying in terms of what I'm trying to say to them about, the studies that I'm doing. They're not interested. Right. But they will, because they've noticed that I'm a lot calmer, just real calm, and I'm real focused on what I'm doing and where I'm going. So I guess time will tell. Maybe they'll just have to watch me from afar and then join later. I don't know.
That's usually the way it happens. I'll watch your behaviour and then start to come around.
Or you'll just leave them in the dust.
Well, that's what could happen. And it's their choice ultimately, isn't it?
Yeah. And, Bob, tells the story of, when he was younger and, he'd go into a bar. And one day he walks into the bar and he's looking around and he said, there's a bunch of losers in this bar. Wait a second, I'm in this bar.
Remember that story.
And that's a wake up.
Yeah.
You look around at your friends, friends and family, and, they want to keep the status quo. Okay? You want to advance. You're not going to be able to make them advance. All right, so sooner or later, it's going to be a situation where you're going to get going, and you're not going to be as, close a friend with them anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or, and I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to dump them or anything else like that, but it's just going to be that you're now on two totally different planes.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, really, doesn't it? Because you resonate with people who are on the same frequency as you, and people who aren't, you just don't really have that connection.
It's quite tough though, like, I guess because it's happening. The distance it's happening. There's becoming a distance. Like, it's 10 o'clock for me this call, and I don't see my friends on a Saturday because I don't want to run late. I don't want to get distracted, and I actually like to unwind, and I'm happy. So the distance is happening anyway, and it has been over a period of time. It's only if I choose to think about it, I think, oh my God, I've known you since I was 2. But and there's a little bit of a longing there, like, not because I want to be back where my friends are, but I want them to come with me. Like, come on. I want you to have this and experience this. It's amazing. It really is amazing. They're not happy. They're like, what's going on for them just in work, just general humdrum of life, 9 to 5, boss is horrible, all that. Like, I just wish I could just get them to see the distance is happening, and I know that, but when there's nothing I can do about it because I'm not going to stop because I'm out of here.
Yeah. Well, one of my goals actually is that one of the things that I think about and dream about every day, besides having abundance and all the other things that I want, that is to have a group of friends that are on the same wavelength as me, to be, doing the same things, thinking the same things. That is one of my goals, is to find those people, and I believe that I will.
Yeah, likewise, agreed.
I've just had one come back into my life. She moved away for a while, and she's just recently moved back, and it's so nice to sit down and just talk to someone normally. Let it flow. Whatever is coming into mind, just let it flow and not have them look at you like, what planet are you on?
Yeah.
Or so you don't have to listen to what a bad day they had or who said what to them. Like, I don't have any patience for that anymore. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
What I noticed is,
does it? Already there.
If you want to grow, you have to let people go.
Yes.
Wow.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Because in your environment, there's a lot of negative people without goals, concentrating on bad news. You just, if you want to grow, you have to let people go.
And I think Bob talks about that here and there as well, where he just there's just a few people that he really associates with anymore. I'm pretty sure that he's told us that a couple of times, where, that he's met lots and lots of people throughout his career, but there's only a few that he's really close with. And I think, that's just a matter of life as well, really, when you think back about how you go through school and you've got best friends, and you're gonna get married at the same time, and you're gonna have babies at the same, and you're so close, and then out of nowhere you just grow apart. And I think it's just really is a normal fact of life. It's just that
grow in different ways.
Yeah, you grow in different ways. Even husbands and wives do that. Grow in different ways.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Because you can't just walk off and leave them.
No. Although that does happen. Does happen.
Harder for some than others.
Then there's the other end of the scale of being over enthusiastic and want to tell everyone everything and not being able to switch it off.
Yeah.
That's one way to get rid of everyone. You wouldn't have to worry about it anymore.
It's true.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
I've got a question for anybody. What do you do when you are observing your awareness is expanded, and the awareness is so keen you can see through things, or see things, or see people, see things about what's going on and around the world around us in different ways. When you're in that state of awareness, and that seems to be the forefront, what do you do to kind of just to feel like you're making connections, or is that part of that where you just go and hang out with those that are more like-minded, that are maybe into what you're doing, and not really bother with others so much? Or just like, what do you, when you do pass them by though, it's like, we want to give benefit of the doubt, but it's kind of I mean, I was just walking today home, and just being down in the city, passing through even passerby or somebody who begging at the street corner for food, while I'm there standing there with other people across the street, and I'm feeling, my energy was probably drained before I got out there, but because I was around in a meeting. It was a 5-hour meeting about a co-op insurance that that are practically wanted to sell, merge with Kaiser Permanente, and there was just so it just felt like I saw all this. It felt this energy and sense that people were following, kind of being a followers instead of being individual or whatever, and so it's kind of I had a hard time adapting by the time I got out of there and coming across somebody coming in front of us, walking past us. Can you help me with food? Help me with some food, and like, and I just like, I felt so vulnerable or sensitive, feeling kind of sorry for this guy, just having some empathy, more so when somebody else I witnessed say to this man, you gotta be moving on now. It's kind of like, get out of here, and I just like, what do I do with that? It's like, because I'm facing that.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do if you were in that situation? You're so attuned with everything.
I don't know.
That's difficult. We don't really have that as much here in Australia. Because we have so many benefits. I think the people who are on the streets here are doing that out of choice, so we tend to be a little less sympathetic. So I'm not sure over there. It would be a difficult situation to work out what to do.
Yeah, here in the U.S., it's a mixture of individuals who are kind of not wanting, who are maybe have some addictions and they don't want to abide by rules, the shelters, but there's plenty of services for them. And for whatever reason, some of them, they choose not to abide by rules that shelters have, and they do their own thing or decide to live on the streets, and there's others. So it's kind of a mixture, but then I learned from some other people who used to volunteer with them, there's a lot of them, they don't want to change. Not to say that they all are like that, but
I think I misunderstood your question. Are you saying what to do about the homeless people, or what to do with your energy that are seeing them?
With my energy, my mindset. It's like, I know, like, for example, I was walking down the street the other day and I saw this woman who I actually ended up gifting her some food that I got from a restaurant. I was part of some food, and spontaneously, and I saw her again, and she just looks really lonely, and I sensed that. And I just was thinking, well, what can I send out to her telepathically, So that's a different scenario. What can I do to give value, even though it may be only energetically that I can really contribute because they're maybe not open?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, what I do, because I automatically feel when I see somebody like that, I feel sorry, and it
Mm-hmm.
lowers my energy. So what I've learned to do, and this is new to me, is what Sandy says. You know, when she says about the gratitude, send love to those 3 people that bothers you. Well, that bothers me in a different way, but it bothers me. What I do is I send blessings and I send love to that person, and somehow makes me feel better.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I had something very similar. Somebody, this is very recent, this is all quite new to me, and somebody had jumped in front of a train at one of the, and it happens a lot, to be fair. We went for a little spat where the people were just committing suicide and jumping off in front of the train, and I kind of think, you know, the poor driver, the poor person. But this particular day, I don't know what happened, but I just got I felt my energy. I got very emotional, like, what on earth? Why? You know, like, and then I started to think about my journey and what I'm experiencing, because I know that there are times where you can be low, but I was just grateful for me, for what I have and where I'm at and what I'm learning. So yeah, I what I chose to do was think, you know, just be grateful within myself. But I didn't know.
Yeah.
What I should have done is sent love and blessings. That's what I should have done. That's what I'll do next time. What I did at the time was like, oh my God, you know, like it was very emotional. I didn't even know I was going to start crying, and just did, because I was talking to somebody. They were all gathered outside the station. What's happened? Oh my God, somebody's jumped in front of the train. It's terrible. What on earth could be so bad, like in that moment, that you just do that? What is so bad? What are you missing? And where are your support? Who have you got? Etc. And so that's why, and all those questions I was thinking for that person made me realize, wow, you know, like, Lorraine, you know, thank goodness for the path that I'm on and where I'm going and what I have, you know, rather than what I haven't. And I felt much better. I did feel, you know, obviously sorry for the person and their family and what they've gone through. But for a while, like, the hairs on the back of my arms stood up. I felt like I was experiencing something a bit crazy. But yeah, I just chose to be even more in gratitude that I am able to at least have somebody quickly jump onto Skype and see what, you know, Callie or Nicole or Chris or what you guys might have been talking about for the day or something. Because there's always something, and there's always something you can read or listen to, or I don't know. But thank goodness I know this. You know, not everybody does.
Yeah, that's definitely good to get into the habit of using the material or people that you know to get you back on track.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I had this thought. Thank you, guys. I had this thought go in my mind after I was passing the guy, and I thought, you know, I was like, you know, if you really would like to try something out, shift, you know, try to turn things into gratitude. You know, I'm telepathically communicating that way, like, you know, how about trying some gratitude? You know, but this guy, the tone of his voice, you know,
I'd rather take $10.
All right.
Sometimes it's the choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the choice.
Yeah. I'd be better off going if I'm passing this other person who's sitting looking lonely outside, you know, going up to her and saying, would you like to know a little magic? You know, tell her about gratitude, the energy. You know, it was almost tempted for me to go back when I you know, that's the thing is I don't really, I haven't discerned that, you know, that you know, who is approachable and who's not, who really wants to be supported or helped, you know.
It's interesting you should say that. I don't know, like, I'm laughing, but like, it's like, how would that, I'm homeless. If you're homeless and you're talking, somebody's just going to talk to you about being grateful, when actually, I know the power of that. I know. But if you've been homeless for a little while, they're probably not going to see that they've got anything to be grateful for. But it would be interesting if you could I don't know. Maybe that would have to be a whole voluntary thing, I guess. You couldn't just approach somebody, I think, and say, look, have you thought about being grateful for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just made me think about, my goodness, now I can see where, with my raising my vibration that, that I could be able to maintain that and maybe even go and, offer my encouragements to them, the women in the women's shelter about gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
give them a little pep talk.
Mm-hmm.
Get me out of that kind of like, oh, I gotta just kind of stick to myself and just avoid them. That doesn't help anything. And yet I don't also want to be the rescuer either, or the doormat. So
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. And remember what Bob Proctor did? He used to go into the prisons.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, talk about, people that are, the bottom of the pile there. So, who knows? Maybe that might be a really great way for you to add value to people's lives.
Yeah, because and it's just up the street from me, and it'd be a great thing to volunteer doing before and then of course I could, just get myself back on track and be with these tools and stuff and being connection.
Exactly. Yeah, and you have such a great story too. I think that would be awesome.
Exactly. And we really supplant it in our own minds when we teach as well. So we learn it, we practice it in our lives, but when we teach it, it really sinks it in.
Yeah, it's a great
But
idea.
if your energy is low, I think you should only talk to these people when your energy is high. Like if you compare Bob, when he went to the prison and talked with these people, he believed in what he teach. He goes with a lot of power. So if you feel drained, I tried, and that's why I'm talking. It's because it drained me even more. So
it really requires us to maintenance, to keep our energy vibrations up.
Yeah, and ask for guidance before you go in and help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you. Yeah, maybe that was a lesson for me. That twice in a row I passed this woman by. The first time it was a spontaneous sharing something, from some food that I treated myself out a little bit. I don't normally do that, but it's like, oh, here's some things that I don't really care for. This woman, but she'd like it. So I gave it to her, and she, was delighted to get this gift like a child. Like eyes, like, whoa, wow. She's like, it was unbelievable to her. But and then I passed her this time, and it was just like, I didn't say anything at all. I'm like, is that the same person? Like, anyway, I might as well try to make use of the where I'm at. Even though I don't want to be staying here where I'm at, their environment or surroundings around me. See how if I could do that.
That's great. Well, we're at an hour and a half, so shall we finish up? Does anyone have any other points they want to bring up before we finish?
No, I'm good.
Oh, thank you.
So how do we get on again next week then? Go into Skype again or for the new link, or are you going to put it in Facebook, or how do we get in?
I believe it should be the same link, but I'll post it again in the Skype group.
It'll be better to do it in the Skype group because the other one's a little bit of a mix of people.
Okay.
The people that are really serious to participate.
Yeah, so I'm inviting people to Skype first and then through here, because last week we had people joining all over the place and making the call, and it didn't work very well, so I'm just trying to be organised.
That was a flop, wasn't it? No more.
So we're on track now. So, but there'll definitely be the link there.
Okay.
For next week in the Skype group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Another awesome call as always.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, and especially Nicole.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Setting this up. Yes. Thank you.
And have a good week, everybody.
You too.
You too.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.